Ken Barron here, National Association of Black and White Men Together. Hope everyone's okay and surviving, at least in this political environment, seems to be getting worse. And to that effect, I'd like to tell you a little bit about my latest post, which is U.S. science declining? As a scientist, I think this is an important topic that everyone needs to understand and how science is involved with our values and our daily life and can make things better and can make things worse if it's not appropriately adjusted and maintained. The anxiety greatly increased in October 1957 when Americans learned of the Soviet Union's successful launch of the world's first satellite, Sputnik 1. The vivid evidence of the technological superiority in rocketry, at least, of our Cold War enemy provoked a remarkably rapid response. In 1958, by a partisan vote, Congress passed and um, Dwight Eisenhower signed the National Education Act, one of the most consequential federal interventions in education in the nation's history. Together with the National Science Foundation and the National Institute of Health, it made America into the world's undisputed leader in science and technology. Nearly 70 years later, the leadership is in peril. The single remaining U.S. institution among the top 10 is Harvard, in second place, far behind the Chinese Academy of Science. If this does not constitute a Sputnik moment again, it is hard to mention what would. Now, the leaders of the American universities have done little more than duck and cover. The NDEA reflected the widespread realization that something had to be done in schools and in universities besides just teaching the students to hide under their desks. The country urgently needed more experts. The act also played a significant role in diversifying the nation's campuses by providing low interest loans to applicants in need. Incidentally, changing policies that had restricted admission for disfavored groups such as Jewish, Asian, Black, Polish, and Italian students. What began as a project of national security blossomed into a generator for limitless curiosity, creativity, and critique. The result of the huge influx of tax dollars was institutions that not only trained scientists, medical researchers, and weapons engineers, but also cultivated sociologists and historians, philosophers, and poets. By the 1990s, American universities have become global cultural icons. Envied for their intellectual breadth, celebrated for their academic freedom, and eagerly sought after by international students who view them as an apex of open inquiry and prestige. But now, science research has curtailed postdoctoral fellowships, have been abruptly cancelled, laboratories have been shuttered, and visas have been denied. The damage to scientific enterprise extends beyond our borders, whether it's from the cancellation of nearly $500 of funding for mRNA research under the Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr., or the purging of data on which climate researchers around the world have depended. We will never know what diseases might have been cured or what advances in technology might have been invented had the lights not gone out in the laboratories. Should the administration be determined to reshape the intellectual lives and values of faculty members and students alike, then the recovery will be impossible. But our situation is not hopeless any more now than it was in 1957. The United States has won so many Nobel Prizes, far more than any other country, including China, not only because of generous funding, but also because of intellectual culture that encourages and rewards innovation and risk taking, and because we have attracted gifted researchers from all over the world. In following our values and principles, we must create a community with culture that welcomes diverse perspectives and supports constructive debate about how values and science are basically entwined. Remember the Tuskegee experiment, which led many African Americans to develop a lingering deep mistrust of public science and officials and vaccines. We don't want to go back there. Thank you for listening. This is Ken Barron with the National Association of Black and White Men Together. We're talking about values. We're talking about our principles. If you want to learn more about us, then you can go to nabwmt.org. We do education, we do conventions, one next year in Las Vegas. Thank you for listening again. We appreciate it.